With Doubtnut, get instant video solutions to all your maths, physics, chemistry, and biology doubts. Just click the image of the question, crop the question, and get instant video solution. Download Doubtnut app today.
Hello everyone. So the question over here is, during ventricular systole, which of these events occur? We have been given 4 options and we have been asked that which of these 4 events occur during ventricular systole. So let us first understand what is systole. Systole is nothing but a period of contraction. We know that the heart is a muscular organ. It is made up of muscles. These muscles rhythmically contract and relax, leading to a heartbeat. Alright, so this rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart is known as the heartbeat. When the muscles of the heart contract, it is known as systole. So what do we mean by ventricular systole? Ventricular systole means the contraction of the ventricles. Contraction of ventricles. We know that the heart is internally divided into 4 chambers, the upper 2 auricles and the lower 2 ventricles. When the ventricles contract, it is known as ventricular systole. Now the question over here is, what happens during ventricular systole? So let us try to understand what happens during the ventricular systole. If we try to draw a diagram of the human heart using a schematic diagram, so it will be somewhat like this. The 4 chambers, suppose these are the 4 chambers, the right auricle, right ventricle, left auricle and left ventricle. Suppose these are the 4 chambers of the human heart. Right, now what happens is, in human heart double circulation takes place. Double circulation means the blood passes through the heart twice per cycle. So what happens when the blood passes from the deoxygenated blood from the right auricle passes to the right ventricle? So when the right ventricle will contract, the deoxygenated blood is passed on to the lungs. For oxygenation, and this is done with the help of pulmonary artery. So when the right ventricle contracts, during ventricular systole, the deoxygenated blood is pumped to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. The deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle is pumped into the pulmonary artery, which is transported to the lungs for oxygenation. Once it gets oxygenated in the lungs, the blood in the oxygenated form will return back to the left auricle of the heart through pulmonary veins. This blood is the oxygenated blood, because the deoxygenated blood now got oxygenated in the lungs. So now this oxygenated blood from the left auricle will get transported to the left ventricle, and when the left ventricle will contract, there is an opening in the left ventricle, there is an opening of the systemic aorta. Alright, so when the left ventricle will contract, the oxygenated blood will be passed on to the systemic aorta, and through the systemic aorta it will go to the body tissues and organs. So when the left ventricle contracts, the blood is passed on to the aorta, the oxygenated blood is passed on to the aorta, and from the aorta it will go and it will be transported to the body tissues. The body tissues will use this oxygenated blood, and it will return the deoxygenated blood to the right auricle through the superior and inferior vena cava. Alright, so this is how the blood is passing twice through the heart, once in the oxygenated form and once in the deoxygenated form. So what happens when the ventricular systole? The question was, during ventricular systole, which of these events occur? So when the ventricles are contracting, we are specifically talking about the right ventricle and the left ventricle. So when the right ventricle contracts, the blood is pumped to the pulmonary artery so that it goes to the lungs for oxygenation, and when the left ventricle contracts, the blood is pumped through the aorta so that it gets transported to the various tissues of the body. So now let us find out which option suits the best to the answer that we have derived. Option A says oxygenated blood is pumped to the pulmonary artery, which is wrong because the deoxygenated blood is pumped to the pulmonary artery. So statement option 1 is wrong. So next comes option B. Oxygenated blood is pumped into the aorta and deoxygenated blood is pumped into the pulmonary vein, which is again wrong. The Oxygenated blood is pumped to the aorta, that's correct, but deoxygenated blood is not pumped to the pulmonary vein, it is pumped to the pulmonary artery. So option B is also incorrect. Coming to statement option C, oxygenated blood is pumped into the pulmonary vein and deoxygenated blood is pumped into the pulmonary artery. Again, this is a wrong statement, because during the ventricular systole, the oxygenated blood is not pumped into the pulmonary vein, it is pumped to the aorta. So this is also a wrong statement. Then comes the fourth statement, that is oxygenated blood is pumped to the systemic aorta and deoxygenated blood is pumped to the pulmonary artery. This is the correct statement. So the option 4, the option D is the correct answer. So let us write the final statement. Hence, during ventricular systole, the oxygenated blood is pumped into the aorta, and the deoxygenated blood is pumped into the pulmonary artery, Hence the correct answer is option D. Hence the correct answer is option D. Alright, I hope you understood the explanation. Thank you.
For class 6 to 12, IIT JEE and NEET level. Trusted by more than 5 crore students. Download Doubtnut app today.